So I talked about this the other day, and now we have some confirmation. So I figured it'd be cool to kind of share this along with everybody. So look, listen, Microsoft, they probably thought they were being slick. They were like, hey, we're going to release a PC. Everybody that's freaking out about exclusivity, that's not going to be a thing anymore because Sony puts their games on PC, and we're going to have a PC store. We're going to have Steam. So if people buy our next platform, they'll be able to play the PlayStation releases through that store, right? Like, that was probably Microsoft's big, hey, this is a brilliant idea. This will help smooth over lack of exclusives. Now, Jason Schreier from Bloomberg has confirmed that Sony has returned to console exclusivity, in part because some within PlayStation are worried that releasing games on PC may hurt sales of PS5 and even the PS6. So yeah, that's going to be huge. And in my opinion, that is a massive, massive thing. And I actually applaud this news. I think it's great news. I think it's very smart to do that, and very smart to kind of offer these changes. They didn't wait too long to do it as well. Like, Microsoft started doing the PC stuff over a decade ago. Majority of their games, and you guys can check this out, don't sell well on PC. I mean, there's been a handful that have, but the majority of the games have flopped on PC. The majority of the games have flopped on PlayStation, yet Microsoft still continually releases them all there. You know what I mean? So, we'll see what happens. But I think at the bottom thing that you can kind of get from this is, I think there's a multitude of reasons why. Probably a small reason why also is because they don't want the next Xbox, even though it's going to be an expensive PC, to be able to play their games. And so that's, in my opinion, a very smart thing. You also have the Steam machine coming, and so this puts Microsoft in a very bad, awkward situation, for sure. So, a new report from Bloomberg and Jason Schreier has revealed that both Ghost of Yattai and Saros will remain exclusive to PlayStation 5 as Sony begins to pull back from PC. Bloomberg said that while Sony will continue to release online games on PC, single-player games will now remain console exclusive, marking a significant strategy shift. Sony had a strategy of releasing its PlayStation games on PC sometime after they hit console. This new policy marks a return to console exclusivity at a time when console rival Microsoft is all in on multi-platform. So expect to see fighting game Marvel Token on PC as well as PS5, and of course Bungie's extraction shooter Marathon remains a multi-platform release. Meanwhile, the Sony published but externally developed Death Stranding 2 and Kena Scars of Kosmara will launch on PC, but plans to release Sucker Punch's Ghost of Yattai were recently scrapped, according to Bloomberg. Bloomberg suggested poor recent sales of PlayStation games on PC and the risk to the PlayStation brand, as well as potential impact on PS5 and maybe even PS6 sales, were to blame for the policy shift. Meanwhile, Bloomberg suggested the prospect of PlayStation games running on the next Xbox, which looks like it'll run PC games, may also encourage Sony's return to exclusivity. There's no mentions of Marvel's Wolverine in the port, but given the timing of its release, it's due out on PS5 exclusively this September. A PC launch seems unlikely. Sony has in recent years expanded PlayStation and PC, but refrained from going as far as Microsoft, which releases all of its games on PC at the same time on console. Sony, however, has employed a staggered approach, releasing its single-player PlayStation games on PC after a period of console exclusivity. When it comes to live service games like Helldivers 2, it's a different story, with Sony publishing the PC day one. In the case of Arrowhead's third-person action game, to record-breaking success. Indeed, Sony's own Bungie is about to launch a live service extraction shooter Marathon across PC, PS5, and Series X at the same time. Guerrilla's live service multiplayer spin-off Hunter the Gathering, it's also going there as well. It's worth noting in recent reports that Sony may have to delay the release of the PS6 to 2028 or 2029 as a result to the AI-fueled chip crisis. In January, an analyst report suggested that Sony may push the launch back of the PS6 back beyond 2028 and lengthening the PS5 lifecycle. David Gibson, senior analyst at MST International, who focuses on game and tech companies, predicted that rising memory prices will not impact short-term performance thanks to Sony's existing inventory. However, he noted that increased memory costs could become an issue for Sony in the next fiscal year, ending in March 2027, saying Sony might pass future cost increases on to consumers. With that in mind, doubling down on PS5 as a home of exclusive games may help reinforce the console's value for PlayStation fans and encouraging sales. Last month, Sony announced the shot closure of Bluepoint, the studio behind the remake of both Shadow of the Colossus and Demon Souls. Sony still operates PC port specialist Nixxes Software, which it bought in 2021. So, again, I really think that this is a very smart move for Sony. You like they were getting here. Here's I think the big problem. Like there's a lot of big problems, but I think I think you basically what you have to kind of look at is this. The PC ports that they were releasing weren't selling. Like when people will bring up that 1.5 billion over the last 7 years, the majority of that revenue was from Helldivers 2. Most of the other stuff didn't sell well, and you also have to look at the number of bad publicity they were getting from the PC ports. You guys, I understand what some people are saying, but PC games in general, it's hard to put them out and have them run well. That's why the majority of them that released lately run like crap, and they're not optimized well because there's such a varied amount of setups that you got to try and program for. And so, that's a lot of bad publicity. Their games were getting kind of trashed. You also stuff like Spider-Man 2, which came to PC I think in under a year. You have that game, which was very buggy on PC, and not only was it buggy, but you also had a situation where it was like the most pirated game on PC that year. So their revenue might have been 1.5 billion, but that's not profit, mind you. And most of the games that they were putting on PC weren't selling. Like supposedly, like Spider-Man 2 did 16 million on PlayStation and did 700,000 on PC, and was reportedly pirated over 1 million times on PC. So, again, you have to give people a reason to buy your platform. They see how Xbox is falling off a cliff. And again, and I've kind of pointed this out, I did Mooch's podcast the other week, and I said, well, look, they have a pseudo-exclusive in GTA 6. This is going to sell a lot of PlayStations because Xboxes aren't available in majority of the world, and even in the US, it's not available in a lot of stores here, right? A lot of stores stopped selling Xbox. Also, Xbox Series X is $650 or $800 for the 2 terabyte, and you can get a PS5 for $450, $500, and that's available everywhere. Sony's going to have the marketing with GTA, and obviously it's going to do big numbers, and so they can pseudo market that as an exclusive, and they're going to push a lot of consoles because there's still a lot of people that are on PlayStation 4 or maybe even Xbox One, and they're going to upgrade and probably buy a PS5, which I think is like the very smart thing to do from that perspective, and I hope that they do that because that's going to be probably the smartest thing that they can do. Now, what is Microsoft going to do? Their whole plan was to go out there and have something that potentially that potentially would be able to kind of have the ability to play the PlayStation games, so that they could say, okay, well, we play PlayStation games too, it's all good, people are going to be able to buy our platform, and that exclusives aren't important. Now, to me, the big problem is, how do you do that now, right? You're not going to be able to play the PlayStation games, and I think that it realistically puts Microsoft in a very awkward position, because how are they going to sell people on a platform with no exclusive games that's probably twice as expensive when they're not going to stop putting games on PlayStation themselves, right? Like, that's the main thing that I think people have to kind of understand is, we're going to be seeing, a lot of these games come to PlayStation, and, unless Microsoft decides to change their approach, it's going to be tough to kind of see how it kind of turns out. So from what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to see is, like, what is Microsoft going to do? They're going to have to answer to this at some point, right? Why should we buy the next Xbox or an Xbox when all your games are on PlayStation, right? And none of their games are on Xbox. So people that thought that PlayStation was playing nice, no. Sony does not want Xbox to survive. They don't want Xbox to be a thing. They don't want Xbox to to do anything. That's just the God's honest truth. They hate Xbox. And Xbox is like this person that invites this person in to their house, that knows this person wants to kill them, and they still invite them in, right? Like, this is just the truth. Like, how could you be so foolish as to do that? Like, it makes zero sense to actually go out and do that, you know? We'll see how it works out, but again, Microsoft does have to do some changes here. We'll see what's going to happen. What do you guys think they should do? Let me know. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.